So recently, I got to play Sonic 1 again for the first time in quite a few years. This time I actually finished it, and I was surprised at how good it still is. While not perfect, I thought it was pretty fun. Why did I not remember liking it in the past? Oh yeah, it's because it's kind of a difficult game with a live system that makes you start over when you run out of lives. With the already almost 3-year-old release of Sonic Origins, I had a chance to play the original 4 Sonic games in a modern way. Goodbye live systems, and hello in-game currency for useless collectibles. That, and along with widescreen support and many other small changes, I decided it was finally time to play the 4 classic Sonic games. The way that I played 1 through 3 in the past was the Sonic Mega Collection for PS2. No Sonic CD for me, which disappointed me, despite hearing that that was one of the worst of the original 4, but it didn't matter because 9-year-old me was bad at Sonic 1 and never finished it, and I refused to play the other ones until I beat them in order. So now, years later, I finally played the game all the way through, and I liked it, mostly. So Sonic 1 has some weird level designs for a game that's all about going fast. Now some of the levels you can fly through, like in Green Hill Zone. Makes sense though, considering that's the opening level and all. I mean, can you imagine if they made a level that you have to play it safe and take it slow in a game that was advertised as being a game where you gotta go fast? That would be crazy. No, they saved that for level 2. You go from running in the wild, not a care in the world, running through loops and stuff, and then bam, underground temple filled with lava pits, and slow, clunky platforming, and lots of waiting. I feel like this belongs closer to the end of the game, not near the start, but hey, I'm not a game developer, I'm just a guy that's trying to make 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So what do I know? Well, I know you'll click on that subscribe button since you made it this far, right? I hope so, because I'll be doing the other 3 Sonic games in the Sonic Origins collection, so make sure to stick around for those videos too. Anyways, some of those stages are not built for speed at all. Green Hill Zone, Spring Yard Zone, those are built for going fast, and to a lesser extent, Starlight Zone. But then there's Marble Zone and Labyrinth Zone. No thank you, I don't ever want to play those zones again. Let's take a look at each of those zones individually now. Green Hill Zone is easy. Makes sense since this is the first part of the game and all, but I don't mind it being easy. It's fun to just be able to fly past all these obstacles and run through these iconic loops that exist for some reason. Like, are these naturally occurring or did someone make them? There's plenty of rings scattered around and enemies are pretty easy to take care of. You got these fish things that just jump up and down by the water, and these crab guys that shoot at you if you take forever to attack them. The only thing that's somewhat of a threat here are the flying things that just kinda come out of nowhere and try to shoot you. Sometimes they spawn in a pair, and that's annoying, but otherwise, Green Hill Zone is pretty easy. It does a good job introducing you to mechanics that you'll find later in the game, such as the springs and spikes, and floors that just decide to let you fall to your death. My favorite area from Green Hill Zone is the part right here, because every time I see it, I'm reminded of that stupid Miiverse post about the spring being here. Now for the boss fight in Sonic 1, each stage is separated into 3 acts, with the 3rd ending in some sort of boss fight. You still have some sort of level to go through before the boss fight, so make sure to bring some rings with to make sure the fights are easier. Not that you'll really need them for the first boss fight. Dr. Robotnik is just trolling Sonic for the first fight. Like he really thinks one of the fastest creatures in the world is going to fall for a swinging wrecking ball that's just swinging around slowly. Like, be for real now, he's just messing with Sonic. Or he's not as smart as he wants us to believe. I'm beginning to wonder if Doctor is actually his first name and not his actual title. Just hit him by jumping off these floating platforms and he'll be defeated in no time. Now next we have Marble Zone, one of my least favorites in the game. This whole zone just slows the game down so much. Like, are they trying to make a game about being fast or not? Make up your mind. It starts off well enough outside, but quickly has you venture down underground. It's some sort of temple. It's been long abandoned though. Nothing but bats and other enemies here left by Robotnik. I'm sure the flowing lava pools down here have something to do with the place being abandoned, but who knows. There's not much going on this level. You have lots of downtime waiting for platforms to slowly move across the lava, or waiting for platforms to lower down for you to ascend back towards the surface on the other side of the stage, just for you to go back inside the temple at the start of the next act. Act 2 has at least one cool part of the level where you run from some lava after pressing a button. That's actually fun. Too bad they don't do anything else like that in the rest of the stage, or even the game. They introduce some new enemies like the previously mentioned bats, but they also have a robot caterpillar thing. They're a pain to deal with. You can only hit them on the front, and jumping at them sometimes leads to taking damage unintentionally, so I like to just roll through them when they're facing me to get them out the way. After making our way to the end of these ruins, we fight against the Doctor again. This time, he has a halfway decent idea. He flies back and forth between this lava pit and lights half the floor on fire, and you have to time hitting him and changing sides so you don't get hit by the residual fire. Not much more to say here, it's pretty straightforward though. I feel like they could have made this fight a little more difficult if they made the lava things in the middle jump up a little more often, but otherwise this fight's a little too easy. Next is Spring Yard Zone. This one is my favorite. I love the pinball theme it has going on. I love pinball, so that helps. What I don't love, however, is this rolling guy here. I've played through this game up to this point so many times, and I swear I've never seen him before. Kind of jump scared me because I was not paying attention. I love all of the springs and bumpers added all over the place. Having you bounce all over is very chaotic, but in a fun way. There's not too much danger to be had obstacle-wise here, besides these levitating spike balls. Oh, and these pillars that float up and down. Don't stand too close to the edge, or you could get crushed. Act 2 is more of the same, just with more springs added. I liked the part where I got stuck and thought I'd have to restart the level, but I eventually got out. That was fun. Now Act 3 got a little crazy. There was a bit of a difficulty spike. We have the previous obstacles from Act 1 and 2 mixed together, moving platforms and pillars and spiked balls flying all around, mixed with lots of springs and ramps. It was actually pretty difficult. I was definitely glad there was a checkpoint because I definitely needed that. The boss fight here was a challenge too. Eggman finally decided to try this time and decided to try to have Sonic fall to his death over a bottomless pit. Or poke him with a sharp needle. Maybe the whole floor thing was an accident. He does try to land on you after all. This fight took me quite a few attempts. Congrats, Dr. Robotnik, you finally made a difficult boss fight. My strategy was to try to keep him from removing too many pieces of the floor that were next to each other, so I didn't run out of room when I had to run away when he went on the attack. Just jump on him as you have the last 2 times and you'll see victory against him. And now for the other bad part of this game, Labyrinth Zone. There's a reason people hate this zone so much. The water. The water slows Sonic down to a snail's pace, and it's just so boring. I wanted to play Sonic to go fast, and this is the exact opposite of fast. Then there's the time limit you have while you're underwater. Sonic can't breathe underwater. I know, shocking. He can, however, breathe in these air bubbles. I just love video game logic like this. Imagine being able to do this in real life. The timing for these air bubbles is pretty tight. You have very little room for error here before you suffocate and you have to go back to the last checkpoint. The most infuriating part is when you make it to the next area that bubbles spawn, and then you wait there and nothing shows up until it's too late. Yeah, I love just wasting my time. Now for new enemies, we got the weird ball things that shoot out spiked projectiles at a snail's pace, and then they charge at you when they run out. They use this enemy near the end of the game, and I swear they put it in like the worst spot possible. It made me ready to rage quit. Then there's also these fish robots, but they don't really do anything. They kind of just exist, living their best life. New obstacles include these conveyor belts that spin around to help you get to the surface. Along with that, there are these spears that move back and forth from the walls, and they are fine. They provide a good challenge. They aren't too annoying to deal with, at least until Act 3. Act 3 has you fight against Robotnik. I use the word fight loosely here because it's more like he runs from you while you run from raising water. I'm not sure if he even has a health bar or if you just have to survive long enough, because as soon as we got to the top and it looked like there would be a fight, it's like he just remembered he left his oven on at home or something and just booked it out of there. The chase sequence is annoying. The spears along the wall, along with the constant barrage of fireballs, makes this a difficult fight. Especially if you let the water catch up to you. It's pretty much GG if that happens. Now we move on to the Starlight Zone. I actually like this zone. None of the new stuff added here is annoying or wasting your time, and the level is designed for you to actually go fast. I don't know how Sonic made it all the way to outer space considering he was just underwater in the Labyrinth Zone, but we'll just roll with it. The new enemies added here are Sega's take on the Bob-omb from Mario. They're not as memorable though. They just stand there waiting for you, and then they light their fuse when you fly by. After exploding, they send out shrapnel that can damage you, so it's best to just walk up to them to trigger the timer, and then back up and wait for everything to clear before going through. Now there's a few parts where they're put in large groups, but they're still easy to take care of. It just takes a bit longer if you don't trigger them all at once. New obstacles include these fans that push you away, and Sonic is somehow unable to just sprint past the wind. Those must be some pretty strong fans. Then there are these seesaws that just have a spiked ball on one side, and you have to use it to weigh down the opposite end you're staying on to get some more height. This is a fun challenge that rewards good timing, especially when they put them all over these bottomless pits. The boss for this zone actually uses this mechanic in a fun way. Robotnik decides the best place to try and squish you with these spike balls is a room where there are tons of seesaws scattered all over the place. Bro needs to get a refund for the degree he paid for. It did not do him any good for coming up with good ideas. It's not a difficult fight, especially if you have rings with you when you start, but it did take a long time. He flies just too high to jump at in his little spaceship, but you can either launch the spike balls back at him, or let the balls that he throws at you launch you back up into the air to hit him. The timing is a bit tricky, but eventually I landed enough hits to move on to the final zone. After going through all of these different places, Sonic finally makes it to Robotnik's base, the Scrap Brain Zone. Being the final zone for the game, it naturally throws everything it has at you. Lots of old obstacles are used here, including a few new ones, such as floors that open and close super fast over bottomless pits, these walls that try to move in and squish you, flamethrowers. They even stole the ideas of the disappearing blocks from the Mega Man series. I like the style of this zone. The zone is futuristic and metallic, which is what Robotnik wants for the world, which is why he turns all of the animals into robots. It was a fitting end to the game, or at least Acts 1 and 2 were. Acts 1 and 2 were pretty similar, but Act 3 is different. The developers thought it would be funny to troll us by giving us a final water level just for the fun of it. Robotnik trolls Sonic by collapsing the floor Sonic is standing on, making him fall to the water below. Not much to say here. It plays just like Labyrinth Zone. The only notable thing I remember was that it felt like there was a ton more time spent waiting for water bubbles compared to the previous water levels. Oh, and also I completely forgot about making sure I had rings for the final boss, so I had to do it in one hit. No big deal. I guess the huge group of springs just waiting for me at the end of the tunnel should have made me stop and check if I was ready for the boss, but oh well. After jumping onto the springs, you are launched to Robotnik, and the game tells you it is the final zone, but I disagree. There is no zone here. It's just a boss fight that is at the end of Scrap Brain Zone. This fight, Robotnik actually decided to try and win, but I do have a question. Why did he make this machine? Like, did he make this specifically to fight Sonic? And if so, when did he have the time to build this? And if it wasn't built for Sonic, then why did he make it in the first place? In this boss fight, he has 2 attacks. Shocking, a whopping 1 more than all of the other boss fights had. He tries to crush you with these pillars that fall down, and you have to position yourself in the right place to hit the pillar that the doctor is hiding in. Then you have to dodge these electrical orbs that he launches at you between attacks. I actually had a rough time against this fight when it came to that attack specifically. I died countless times to that part of the fight until I realized you can just bait an attack on one side of the room and spin dash to the other end after they float towards you. After gaining this knowledge, I proceeded to have a very easy but time-consuming win. I had to make sure I was positioned in the right area to get an attack on him after he lands with the pillar, but it was kind of a 50-50 chance on what side to wait in. But after a long battle, I finally won. And what do you get after defeating the Doctor in his own base? You get to see him just abandon ship after casually outrunning Sonic. Like, is he actually the fastest creature alive, or is Sonic just toying with him here? Either way, Robotnik escapes, ensuring a sequel will be made, and Sonic saves the day, and all of the animals are free from being robots. Yippee! There is actually 2 endings to this game. You have the normal ending, and then the good ending. Well, they are both good endings, but I guess saving everyone wasn't enough to have it be called the good ending, because you also need to have all of the emeralds to have the good ending. How do you get them? I hear the 3 viewers that made it this far into the video ask. Well, you get them by playing the special stages. But before you can do the stages, you need to collect 50 rings on any stage and hold on to them till the end of the act, and you'll find a giant ring. Jump through the ring to get transported to the special zone. The special zone is weird. There's a strange background and music playing, and Sonic can't walk here, only roll around. You need to carefully avoid the only obstacle in this special zone and make it to the center to get your prize. There are these exits at some parts of the zone that will kick you out without the emerald. A problem if you're playing the old version of the game, but not a big deal at all on the nice new version of the game. You can just use one of the many coins you have gotten playing the game to just try again. Collecting all of the emeralds gives you the good ending, with this nice cutscene showing Sonic with all of them and letting them go to make a ton of plants grow. Nothing else. Future games give you a bit more of a reward, but I'll leave that for my video on Sonic 2 if enough people watch this one. So overall, I think the game still holds up minus a few parts that were not that fun, like the marble zone and any of the underwater parts. The fast-paced gameplay on the other parts of the game were a blast, and the boss fights, while easy for the most part, were fun as well. I give this game an 8 out of 10. If you for some reason have not played the game but still watched a random guy talk about it for nearly 16 minutes, I'd recommend playing it. The new re-release on Sonic Origins anyways, if you want more quality of life changes like the widescreen and not having to deal with the limited lives. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, maybe leave a like or even subscribe. I would love that a lot. Thank you.